Stafford here, and today I wanted to show you Unit 1, Lesson 3, The Neighborhood. The instructions over here on the left say run the program to observe what it does and then make the following changes to the program. Run the program after each change to observe the results. So I'm going to run this right now, and as it's compiling I'm going to take a look at the code and see what it's doing. So line 6, we're creating a painter named MyPainter. We've asked the painter to move. We ask the painter to take paint twice, turn left 3 times, move, paint coral, and I see the coral color over here, move again, and paint thistle. So they've painted thistle right there. So question number 1 says, where does the painter object start, and what direction is it facing? So if I run it again and I pay attention, I see that the painter object started at 0, 0, and it was facing east, because when I asked it to move, it moved 1 unit to the east. Okay, and then where does the painter object stop, and what direction is it facing? So it stops at X location 1, Y location 1, 2. Okay, because we index from 0. This location is 0, 0. Here was X1, Y2, and the direction that it's facing is south. Okay, it's wanting me to add the following code where indicated in the program, and then run the program, and it's asking what happens and why we think this happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that, and I see these comments that ask me to add the code below this comment, and I'll zoom in a little bit so we can see this a little bit more clearly. Paste it in. I like to keep my formatting nice and tight, and we'll run this. So I'm asking my painter to move again and paint, and I see that it hasn't painted on my neighborhood, and then looking at the console it says there's no more paint in the painter's bucket. And if I remember right, the bucket only has 2 units of paint. So I've picked up both units of paint. I've painted coral, I've painted thistle. At that point I have no more paint, so when I try to paint white, it doesn't paint anything. Okay. Step number 4 says add the following code where indicated in the program, then run the program, and it asks me what happens and why I think that happens. So number 4, it's giving me this line, painter second painter equals new painter. I'm going to run it again. And it says that it couldn't compile my program. I'm going to clear the console again, so I just see this, this exception that it's throwing at me. Okay, it's trying to connect. If it idles like this for too long, I like to stop and rerun it and see if that helps. And if that doesn't help, then refresh the actual tab. Since I'm impatient, I'm going to refresh this entire tab, see if it maintains my changes. It does, and I'm going to go ahead and run it again. Alright, so here's that exception. So it's telling me on line 29, here's line 29, a parenthesis or a hard bracket is expected, and painter second painter equals new painter is where it's hollering at me. So I'm thinking that I'm missing some syntax. So that was step number 4. If I take a look at step number 5, it says change the line you added to painter second painter equals new painter. This looks very similar to me, so I need to kind of slow down and look at, like, okay, so what am I missing from the instructions and what is in my editor right now? And what I'm missing are the open and close parentheses. Now, what this open and close parentheses is doing is calling the constructor. We'll dive into the constructor later, but without those parentheses, it's incorrect syntax, and it doesn't allow me to call the painter constructor. So I'm going to run this one more time, see if that fixes my exceptions, and it does. I still can't paint anymore here with my first painter, but my second painter exists up there in the top left. Okay, click Finish, move on to the next level. And it says instantiate a painter object called MyPainter. So I'm going to do that here on line 7. So capital painter, MyPainter is what it asked me to name it, equals a new painter, open and close parentheses. I need a space between new and painter though. Again, don't forget those parentheses. And we end our statements with a semicolon. And then it says, note, don't forget that an object has to be instantiated before it can be used. Make sure to instantiate the painter object in the right place. And so what it's telling me to do is instantiate it here on line 7 because I'm asking that painter to move here on line 9. I want to show you what would happen if I cut it from there and I pasted it underneath. So I'm asking my painter to move, but then instantiating my painter on the line directly underneath. We'll run that. See that it's connecting and that it cannot find symbol my painter on line 9. So it doesn't know what my painter is. I haven't created it yet, right? I create it after I'm asking this object that currently doesn't exist on line 9 to move. So that's why we have to instantiate our object before we ask our object to do anything. Okay, continue to flow on, do the check for understanding level. And that's it for Unit 1, Lesson 3, The Neighborhood.